What does loyalty even mean on streets where it's every man for himself? It's a currency more valuable than gold. But what happens when the man you called a brother, the one you trusted with your life, sticks a knife in your back? Today, I'll tell you the legend of a man who built an empire on trust and then burned it to the ground himself. We will unseal archives that have been gathering dust under a classified stamp for decades, and I will show you the diary that changed the game. Watch until the end, and you will learn the one single mistake that turned the king of the streets into a ghost, and how to avoid it in your own life. This isn't just a story, it's a lesson, written in blood. It all began on the dusty streets, where dreams are born or nightmares are made. In the early 80s, when the city was suffocating from unemployment, a group of young men, hungry for life, decided to take fate into their own hands. They called themselves the Iron Hawks. They weren't just thugs, they were a family. They'd breathed the same air, shared the last piece of bread, and were ready to die for each other. Their code was simple: one for all and all for one. Loyalty was their religion. And at the head of this pack stood him, Marcus, nicknamed the Ghost. He wasn't the strongest, but his mind was sharper than any razor. Marcus saw 2 steps ahead. He could turn chaos into order and street kids into a disciplined army. He used to say, "We don't rob the weak. We take what is rightfully ours from those who think they own the world." And the boys believed him. They saw him not just as a leader, but as a big brother. Under Marcus's leadership, the Iron Hawks rose quickly. Rackets, control over nightclubs, illegal street racing. Money flowed like a river. They became the kings of their turf. Competitors feared them, and ordinary people respected them because the Hawks never touched their own. Marcus established a law: no blood spilled without reason, and protect our neighborhood to the last drop. They were modern-day Robin Hoods, only with guns instead of bows. They had their own traditions, like a true mafia family. New members went through brutal trials to prove their loyalty. They swore blood oaths, like members of the Japanese Yakuza, where betrayal is punished with a severed finger. Their symbol was a hawk clutching a chain, a symbol of strength and an unbreakable brotherhood. Marcus would often gather everyone and say, "A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. If one of us is weak, we are all vulnerable."
But the higher you climb, the stronger the wind blows. Other, older and more ruthless crews begin to eye their territory. Conflicts began. This was a test of their strength. One day, a rival gang, the Scorpions, kidnapped the younger brother of one of the Hawks. Marcus didn't pay the ransom. He gathered his best fighters and said, "We don't pay for what belongs to us. We take it back by force." The city didn't sleep that night. The Iron Hawks launched an attack that went down in criminal legend. They didn't just get the boy back, they humiliated the Scorpions on their own turf, taking everything from them. It was a bold and beautiful victory. After that incident, Marcus's authority soared. He proved that his words were not empty. He was a true king, ready to do anything for his family. Years went by, the empire grew, but something was changing inside Marcus. Power is a heavy burden. He saw his friends die in shootouts, get thrown in prison. He started asking himself, what is all this for? Where does this path end? A weariness appeared in his eyes. The fire that had once led men began to slowly fade, replaced by cold calculation and paranoia. It was at this moment that a new player appeared in the gang, Rico. Young, cocky, hungry for power. He didn't know the times when they shared their last piece of bread. He came into a ready-made world and believed Marcus's old rules were a relic of the past. Rico wanted more blood, more money, and fewer principles. He began to gather other young and reckless members around him. A conflict of generations was brewing. Marcus spoke of honor and rules. Rico laughed in his face and spoke of weakness. Your code is dragging us down. While you're playing noble, others are just taking our money, he yelled at one of the meetings. A rift formed in the gang. The old guard was loyal to Marcus, but the youth saw the future with Rico. The chain Marcus so often spoke of began to rust.
The point of no return was the death of Lanny, Marcus's best friend, who had been with him since day one. Rico's men got into a pointless shootout, and Lanny died covering the young ones. At the funeral, Marcus stood in the rain, staring at Rico. There was no hatred in his eyes, only emptiness. He realized the family he had built his whole life had turned into a pit of hungry snakes. And then Marcus made a decision that would forever cement his name in the history of the criminal world as the greatest traitor. He decided to burn it all down. He went to the feds himself. It's reminiscent of the story of Henry Hill from Goodfellas, who ratted on all his associates to save his own skin. But Marcus's motive was different. He wasn't saving himself. He was getting revenge. He wanted to destroy the monster he had created. He knew everything, the schemes, the hideouts, the names, the passwords. He was the brain of the operation, and now he had become its executioner. He gave up everyone. One by one, the feds conducted raids based on his information. The gang that seemed indestructible crumbled like a house of cards. Everyone was arrested, Rico's men and those who remained loyal to Marcus until the very end. He spared no one. The climax was the trial. When the prosecutor called the chief witness for the prosecution, Marcus the Ghost walked into the room. A dead silence fell over the court. His former brothers stared at him with hatred and disbelief. Rico, sitting in the defendant's box, jumped up and screamed, "Judas!" But Marcus didn't even look his way. In a cold, lifeless voice, he detailed every crime, every deal, every drop of blood spilled. This was the end of the legend of the Iron Hawks. Dozens of men received life sentences. The city breathed a sigh of relief, and the police celebrated their victory. But behind the scenes, everyone understood this war wasn't won by the law. This war was won by one man who decided that if his family had to die, he himself would be its gravedigger. He had destroyed his greatest creation.
So, what happened to Marcus? The Witness Protection Program. A new name, a new life, a new face. He got what he seemingly wanted, freedom from the past. But was it truly freedom? His story is like that of Sammy the Bull Gravano, who turned on his boss John Gotti, but spent the rest of his life looking over his shoulder. Marcus won the war, but lost himself. He became a ghost not only to others, but to himself. He got money and security, but he lost what mattered most: his name, his honor, and his brothers. He was left alone in the world, forever cursed by those he once loved and despised by those who used him. The legend of the Iron Hawks became a lesson for all street gangs. An empire built on strength can be destroyed by a whisper. And the worst betrayal is not a knife in the back from an enemy, but a strike from the one you considered your own shadow. This story teaches us one thing: the strongest foundation is loyalty. It doesn't matter if you're building a business empire or just want to assemble a reliable team of friends. When you lose trust, you lose everything. What do you think about Marcus's actions? Did he have another choice? Write your opinion in the comments. I'm really interested to know what you think. If this story made you think, if you felt that energy and tension, live this moment with me. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new criminal legends that change how you see the world. If this video blows up and gets 10,000 likes, I'll tell you the true story of the war between two Yakuza clans that shook all of Japan, where betrayal was elevated to an art form. Thanks for watching, stay strong and true to your word. See you next time.